Hennythemoor, reporting live from over here at HTM Sports. How's everybody doing this fine evening, afternoon, night, whatever you want to call it, whatever part of the world you're in? So before we get started, please go ahead, hit that like button, hit that share button. If you are not already subscribed to the content, hit the subscribe button. We are trying to grow the channel. We're sitting at about 540 people subscribed to the channel right now, trying to get it to 1,000. So please go ahead and do so. And also, anything that y'all give to donate will be used to grow the channel. I will be adding my cash app to the stream in case y'all want to donate. Everything used or sent will be used to grow the channel. Like I said, y'all were the reason I was able to get an improved microphone, to get these sound effects, out of other good stuff. So whatever that y'all send for support will be used to grow the channel. So as y'all see by the title, we're talking about trade options. We kind of talk about the cap deadline. And we're going to just talk about other things going around in the off season. So everybody, please tap in, and we'll get right into it. Y'all gotta let me know what the aesthetic looking like, man. What the aesthetic looking like on the show. I'm always down for some feedback. Let's see. So let me bring the picture down. And we back in full effect. All right. How is everybody doing, man? So as you see, from the title, we're gonna talk about some trade options. There's a bunch of guys who are on the chopping block this week. A bunch of players that are actually still pretty good, man. There's some players that are still pretty good. Their teams just don't want them no more, man. A lot of these teams are in flux. They're needing to get underneath the salary cap before Wednesday. Right. So, there's some moves that are going to be made. There are going to be some players made available. They can actually come in and contribute to some teams, right? We already know about DeAndre Hopkins. That's one of the main people that people want to trade for. Brandon Cooks. There's rumors about Stephon Diggs, being available for trade. All these different scenarios, we're going to touch on those. So, first order of business, we're going to talk about the deadline. Hey, Brian Cott, I appreciate you. Yeah, the elevator music adds a nice little element to it. What's up with it, Dwayne Brown? What's up with you, man? I see you in there, brother. But yeah, so for those who do not know, every team in the NFL has to be cap compliance by Wednesday. They have to get underneath the cap by Wednesday. So that's why all these teams are making moves, right? You saw Keenan Allen, who was supposed to be a cap casualty. He got his contract restructured, so he's going to stay a Charger. Same thing with his running mate Mike Williams. So they got restructured for that reason. So they're gonna have to find a way to clear a lot of cap fast. And the Dallas Cowboys are no exception. I'm gonna go ahead and put the elevator music back on. I think it adds to the ambiance. Right, I put this the elevator music on. It doesn't sound so hollow when I'm talking and whatnot. But yeah, so those are the things going on. Teams are making moves to get cap compliant. Teams are restructuring players. Teams are trading players. Teams are cutting players. So that's why all this motion, all this action is going on. So everybody has to Wednesday to be, cap compliant. So when you look at a team, like the Dallas Cowboys, we're actually $10 million over right now. Not as bad as it sounds. We can easily clear over $50 million in cap space just by extending Dak Prescott, by extending a couple other players, restructuring contracts. So it's not all bad or anything like that, but everybody has to be compliant by Wednesday. So we seen news, and we've been talking about running backs, right? We've been talking about why it was stupid to franchise tag Tony Pollard because of the running back market. Everybody been giving their 2 cents about Ezekiel Elliott's contract. Should he still be a Dallas Cowboy? Should he get cut? Should he take a pay cut? So And just to be honest, like the market is not fair to any running back right now. So, and there's another guy, who's been threatened. He received an ultimatum. Looked like he don't want to play ball, so now he's on the trading block. And I'm talking about Dalvin Cook. So if you do not know, the Pro Bowl running back for the Minnesota Vikings has been made available in trade, according to some reports. He was offered a chance to restructure, take a lower cap hit. He did not want to do so. So in response, he is being shopped. He's on the trading block right now. I don't know what it would take to get him, right? And I don't know if he would even be a fit for the Dallas Cowboys with what we're doing at running back right now. But I will say this. If the Dallas Cowboys were going to do something stupid like move on from Ezekiel Elliott, bringing in a guy like Dalvin Cook would not be a bad idea. If the Dallas Cowboys were just out on Zeke, if they thought they can get better value and better production for what they would end up paying him, then trading for a player like Dalvin Cook makes complete sense. And when you look at his production, he is still one of the better running backs in the National Football League. He's made 4 Pro Bowl selections, and he's rushed for 1,100 yards or more for the past 4 seasons. So he's a guy that really just been hitting his stride. Just last year, no injury history, played all 17 games, rushed for 173 yards and 8 touchdowns, got about 4.4 yards a carry. Now, I have no idea if, the Dallas Cowboys would go out their way and try and trade for him. But, he is an option that gives you more explosiveness at the running back position. He is pretty decent as a pass catcher. Run block, I'm not going to lie. That's not really his strong suit. But, he is a versatile back. Gives you an explosive player out the backfield. Jerome Saint, what's up with you, man? I see you here tapping in with me, brother. But no. And look, I like the prospect of pairing Dalvin Cook with Tony Pollard. Both of them are explosive. Both of them can act as pass catchers. Right? They do a lot of the same things. But I don't think it's a realistic option. But a good scout, a good team leaves no stone unturned. Right? A good scout leaves no stone unturned. I'm not saying that he is better than Ezekiel Elliott. I'm not saying that he's the best running back in the league. But if the Dallas Cowboys, who have a track record of doing stupid stuff, if they were to move on from Ezekiel Elliott, I wouldn't mind them bringing in somebody like Dalvin Cook. When you just look at his production, let me see. I'm trying to see what he did in the passing game last year too. Like he had an additional 295 yards in the passing game, so he had well over 1,400 yards of all-purpose yards. So he's a good back. He's a good back. Do I think the Dallas Cowboys should trade for him? Not at this moment. But he is a good option if you decide to move on from Ezekiel Elliott. In that regard. Then, we've been beating this DeAndre Hopkins stuff, dead. Like we already know that everybody wants DeAndre Hopkins. That's the one trade that everybody been talking about, that everybody's in agreement with, that we want to happen. So, I didn't really want to talk about DeAndre Hopkins, coming on here. But there's plenty of other guys that are on the trading block right now that can come in and make an impact for the team. Miles Sanders too, with the price is right. Now, see, Miles Sanders is going to be a flat-out free agent. So, you can sign Miles Sanders without giving up any cap. You just have to give him a contract. And with the way that they're doing the running back market right now, I don't think anybody is going to give Miles Sanders the contract he's really looking for. Because it's going to be hard. Like, Josh Jacobs is the league leading rusher. He's only going to make $10 million this year because they franchise tagged him. Tony Pollard, had a 1,000-yard season, had 12 total touchdowns, right? He's gonna make $10 million this year because of the franchise tag. So they're actively devaluing that position right now. So I don't think anybody is gonna get no real money as a running back right now. I don't think nobody gonna get no real money right now. So, but Miles Sanders is a good option too. They move on from Ezekiel Elliott. Because I'm not in the mindset of just getting rid of a player and not replacing their production. Because I don't want to just leave it all up to chance with Tony Pollard. If they're really going to move off of Ezekiel Elliott, then you need to bring in another good running back, right? So it's not crazy to talk about bringing in Dalvin Cook or bringing in a Miles Sanders, because everybody was beating the table for Bijan Robinson, right? And we ain't never seen him play in the NFL. So if we were to do something like move on from Ezekiel Elliott, you need to go ahead and bring in a stud running back. Because right now, Tony Pollard is not fully healthy. I know and listen, in the offseason, they always say that folks are going to be ready to start the season. They always say that. They said they hyped it up with Michael Gallup. They said Michael Gallup, was ahead of schedule. He was looking like himself. They gave us the whole, media campaign, hyped the boy up. He went out there and did nothing. So, I don't like just risking my future on players that are currently injured. I do think that Tony Pollard will eventually get back to form, but if you let go of Ezekiel Elliott and have to put the whole workload on Tony Pollard to start, I don't really know what you can get or what you can expect to get. There's not good roster building. That's not how winning teams go about it at all. So yeah, we discussed Dalvin Cook slightly, right? And I'm not going to go into the advanced numbers. I'm not going to go into all this and that with Dalvin Cook because I don't actually think it's realistic. But I'm just going to say this. If it came down to it, if they had to get rid of Zeke, bring Dalvin Cook in, I think it'd be worth it. And because he's a running back, I don't think you can get a first round. I don't think they can get a first round pick for him, anything like that. So it'd probably be later round draft capital. Maybe another player that might want somebody like Malik Davis back in exchange or something like that. But it's worth mentioning, worth bringing up. But now that we to mention that trade block, let's talk about another wide receiver that we were trying to get last year, right? He's still on the trading block. I think he still has something left in the tank. I think he's still productive. Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is another player that can come into this offense and add value. And I don't think a lot of people really give Dalvin Cook, his flowers for what he's been doing in the league for these years. I know his numbers took a slight hit, because he's been playing in Houston. He has not had good quarterback play for the last couple of years. But Brandon Cook is a straight up dog. And he's a guy, and this is what I usually look for, when we're talking about bringing players in. And especially at the position he's at. He's a veteran. He's explosive. And he has playoff experience. Like when he originally came into the league, Brandon Cook was a 4-3 player. And we do not really have any kind of speed like that on the team. Like the most explosive player, really the most proven explosive player that we have is Tony Pollard, who is currently injured. You could say somebody like Avonte Turpin maybe, but he doesn't ever play offense. Right? We don't ever give him the ball on offense to really say that about him. So Brandon Cook, explosive. And y'all be forgetting, like Brandon Cook actually played in 2 Super Bowls. He was actually the number 1 receiver on 2 teams that made it to the Super Bowl before. Now, they did not end up winning either one of them, but he was the number 1 receiver for Tom Brady and the New England Patriots when they went to the Super Bowl in 2017. And really, one of the reasons that they lost to Philly is because he got injured in the Super Bowl and could not finish the game. So that was one of the big blows to their offense that they could not recover from. Was the loss of Brandon Cook during that Super Bowl game. Also, he was actually the number one receiver for the Rams the very next year when they made their Super Bowl run. And again, one of the reasons they did not win the Super Bowl is because he got nicked. Now, I know saying that out loud, now that I actually hear about it, that's not really a good sign, him getting injured in back-to-back postseasons. But, that is one of the reasons why he always ends up with different teams so often. He does have some form of an injury history. I'm not going to lie to you. But, it's the same way that people tell me about Tyron Smith. I'm the same guy that wanted to kick Tyron Smith, off a cliff and just start over at the left tackle position. Y'all sold me on when he's out there. He's one of the best left tackles in the league. So we know we need to have that same energy for a guy like Brandon Cook. When Brandon Cook is healthy and he actually has somebody to throw on the ball, like he is a very dynamic playmaking wide receiver. And just to show you, I'm going to bring up some of his stats. Now, for real, y'all need to see this and look, he is 1 year removed from a 1,000-yard season. We know what happened this year. We know about the quarterback situation, but just in 2021, he was a 1,000-yard receiver for the Houston Texans. He was a 1,000-yard receiver for him just a year ago. So it's not like he fell off a cliff, and it's not like he's super old either. Like, he is still only 29 years old. He's only 29 years old, and he does turn 30 this year, but he's still a fairly young guy. All right. So these are his numbers for the 2022 season. Brandon Cooks was targeted 88 times. He had 56 receptions, 699 yards, 3 receiving touchdowns. Graded out as a 72.3 overall and a 71.9 as a receiver. So with that said, there's some value there. And when we're talking about, bringing in assets, we said Mike Evans an option 2. He must hate Tampa with Kyle Trask starting. That is a good point. We'll look at Mike Evans next, since we're on that subject. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. There was an ad started playing. I hope it didn't copyright me for that. But yeah, we'll definitely go ahead and look at Mike Evans next. Since we're talking about wide receiving trading options. But yeah, he's not a bad player. And when you look at the production that Michael Gallup has given us, right? If Michael Gallup had 699 yards, last season, it could have made a difference. Right, so, and we're not really even looking for somebody to come in and be a number one wide receiver. We just need better production from our other receivers outside of CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is a dog, all-pro level player, but he needs a running mate. He needs somebody on the opposite side of him so he does not consistently get double teams. With the speed of Brandon Cooks, like there will be times that they have to roll a safety to his side of the field. So having somebody out there that can level the playing field for CeeDee Lamb is going to be very important. Brandon Cooks, even though he's only 5'10", he's a pristine route runner. He's good at yards after the catch, and all those things matter in this new West Coast offense we're going to be, transitioning to this season. So bringing him in makes sense, and because of the amount of money. That he's owed, I don't think they can even ask for a lot of compensation. Once he's on the team with us, we can work something out with the contract. We might be able to offer him an extension, lower the salary cap hit, so on and so forth. But I don't think that the Houston Texans are going to ask for a first round pick for a wide receiver that's going to be 30. And I'm not saying that to down him or anything, but the older you get, generally, unless you're a quarterback, right? You could be a 40-year-old quarterback and they probably still want a first round pick or something for you. But generally, the older that you get, the less draft capital it's going to take to get the player. It says Evans was 75 to 80% healthy last year and still got 1,000 yards. Yeah, Mike Evans is a difference maker. He's definitely a difference maker. But Brandon Cooks makes sense for the offense. It does. And I don't think the type of capital that they want in a trade is going to be exponential because of his age and because of his contract. So there's really no leverage, for Houston to try to run up the price. There's not going to really be a bidding war for him. And really, if you really look back on it, like the Amari Cooper trade and the Andre Hopkins trade from some years ago, it sort of messed up, the wide receiver market a little bit, because you were getting top talented guys for less than first round picks. DeAndre Hopkins, and at the time when DeAndre Hopkins got traded, he was considered the best wide receiver in the league. And for him to go for just for a second, that's messed a lot of things up for a couple of years. It sort of stabilized, after that. But then Amari Cooper going for a fifth, it sort of screwed it up all over again. So a guy like Brandon Cooks, who is not currently on their level, you can't really expect for them to get no more than a third round pick, maybe. And to have Brandon Cooks on my team, I would gladly give up a third. Because at the end of the day, I know the Dallas Cowboys are very high on their draft picks. They value them. They never trade them off. They never, try to give them up. They hold on to them for dear life. But these teams that are competing for championships, they value veteran players, over kids. And this is the way they build their rosters. When it was time for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who we're going to talk about in just a second, when it was time for, he said, funny looking to steal guys who ain't happy. Let's hope they actually do something. Yeah, that is the case. But it worked out the last time. Amari Cooper was not happy with his role in Oakland. He looked lost out there. He was not being very productive, and he came to Dallas and exploded. So and listen, like some of these teams make any player look bad, because T.O. looked bad in Oakland too. So sometimes it's just the organization. Sometimes these players just need to change the scenery, need to be in a better offense or play a different role to really get the most out of them. So I think it, even if these guys are disgruntled, where they're at, it's a different story in Dallas. It's a different story in Dallas. From the facilities to the medical staff, everything like that. So I would do that. I definitely would. But no, these other teams aren't just relying on these kids and building through draft picks and stuff. A lot of the people that are pro build a team through the draft, like that works sometimes. But when you're trying to compete right now, like there comes a time when you have built as far as you can through the draft, and then you need to add some veteran players around them kids to keep them in line and lead them to the promised land. Because Tampa Bay, they did build a lot of their roster through the draft, like Mike Evans, right? Like those other guys they brought onto their team, Godwin, like they drafted those guys. But when it was time to actually go out there and win, they brought in Tom Brady, they brought in Antonio Brown, Gronk, the pieces they added on defense like Adama Sue, so on and so forth. Like you have to have a good blend of both in order to win. It's usually not these young up and coming teams getting there and winning. What's up with you, Double R? I see you tapping in with me, man. And yeah, we over here talking numbers. But yeah, now that we got Brandon Cooks out of the way, we're gonna just chop it up about Mike Evans. We're gonna pull up Mike Evans. As y'all have heard, Mike Evans is a possibility of being on the trading block. Really, Mike Evans And really, man, like if we get somebody like Mike Evans, it's an entirely different story because Mike Evans is still one of them. You know, like he mentioned just a second ago, Mike Evans was not even fully healthy this year, and he put up astronomical numbers. So if you look at that, he was targeted 123 times. He caught 77 balls for 1,133 yards and 6 touchdowns. So that's very dynamic production. And look, we're a wide receiving core that only had one guy go over 600 yards, and that was CD Lamb. Everybody else, hey, what's up with you, man? Hey, shout out to Dwayne Brown for the $10 donation, man, and I appreciate you for the support, brother. Thank you for that, my guy. But yeah, when you look, you know, at what we had, at playmakers, we need more. We need more. Because you're listen, your second leading receiver was a tight end that's finna probably hit free agency and be gone. So you can't sit here, twiddle your thumbs and let this stuff happen. You got to go out there and build a competent roster of pass catchers, especially if you're going to transition to a West Coast offense. So I'm not sure what the asking price for somebody like Mike Evans would be, but he's still one of them. 6'5" wide receiver with 4.5 speed, graded out well, does not have a particularly high drop rate, still gets separation. And listen, this is a wide receiver that has never had under 1,000 yards in his career. He's had 1,000-yard season every single year since 2014 when he came in as the 7th overall pick. And we're really being honest, like Mike Evans definitely should be considered, a Hall of Fame caliber player. He's already reached the 10,000 yard mark. He already caught 81 touchdowns. He's already caught 683 balls. So like you can make the argument, especially with his playoff performances, him winning a Super Bowl. You can make an argument that Mike Evans is probably going to be a Hall of Fame wide receiver, with his body of work. And adding somebody with that pedigree, into the mix of what we already have. We already have Mike McCarthy, who has a proven, offense that receivers thrive in. Like you would love that. Like look at what CD Lamb did in this system. Well, and listen, it's not even the full form of the system that you were looking at, right? Like this is going to be more of what Mike McCarthy was calling in Green Bay. At least in the passing concepts, you'll see a lot of stretch runs, play action, things like that, based off the system that Schottenheimer's running. But Mike McCarthy's still going to be the play caller, so you have to like that going forward, and you will have to love somebody like Mike Evans, being inserted into that system. It makes sense. Like his skill set makes sense. Big body wide receiver, good hands, can get separation. And, because of his size, he's not like he has like size like a tight end, but he still has like the mobility of most wide receivers. And that is a very dangerous combination. Right. So maybe with Mike Evans, generally Mike McCarthy has one of these big athletic, fast tight ends. That's usually a mismatch problem, right? We've seen it before. He had different guys. I think he even had Jimmy Graham at one point. But since we don't actually have one of those guys on the roster, bringing in somebody like Mike Evans that can fill that role, at the wide receiver position, and he can be moved around the field in different formations. That might compensate for not having a true, speed tight end. You can just have a big wide receiver that's still mobile. So like the fit in the offense, makes sense. But I ain't even looked at the numbers, on the contract. I ain't looked at possible compensation in terms of a trade. I ain't looked at none of that. But when you bring up somebody like Mike Evans, him being on the trading block, and if he fits in Dallas, he would. And he's somebody that's from the Texas area. He went to school right at Texas A&M. So like Mike Evans is definitely a guy to keep your eyes on. I don't know if it's even possible for us to get him, but like I said, you should leave no stones left unturned. When it comes to trying to acquire talent, right? You never know. Like they may not even want as much as you think they want for Mike Evans. But let's take a look at his contract and see if the numbers would be possible to move around, right? So let's pull up his contract and let's go down here. All right, let's check out over the cap. All right. So this year coming up, right? You know what's crazy? I think this is actually the final year on his contract because 2023 looked like the very last year on his deal. Because all these other years look like voided deals, look like voided years. 2024, 2025, and 2026 or void years on the contract. So it looks like this actually might be the final year on his contract, and his cap hit is supposed to be $23.6 million this year with a base salary of 13. So if the Dallas Cowboys trade for him, what they could do to mitigate the cap hit, they could sign him to an extension, trade for him, give him an extension, maybe add 2 to 3 years at the end of it, so he'll be in Dallas for 3 to 4 seasons, until the end of his prime, basically. And then you can move that cap hit around, and lower it. The same concept we're talking about, with Dak Prescott. Like Dak Prescott, if he gets an extension, you can move his cap hit around for this year. That's why you'll be able to save over $20 million. You can use that same principle with Mike Evans. If you wanted to bring him into the fold. And now that I'm looking at it, with the cap hit, with him only having one actual year on the contract left, what could they possibly get for him? It won't be much, right? And sometimes it doesn't even come down to the player; it comes down to the contract, right? Because if a player doesn't have many years left on a contract, like during the last year of their deal, then there is no there really ain't much to negotiate with. Like you trade for them, they can walk out the door the very next season. So whatever you give up, it can't be anything, substantial. Because a wide receiver you draft in the first round, you have the power to control their career for the next 5 seasons. So you can't give up a first round pick for a wide receiver with only 1 year left on their deal and a big cap hit. Hey, what's up with you, Lamont? I see you, my brother. Appreciate you for tapping in with me, my guy. So yeah, and everybody that's late, man, we're just talking about possible trade scenarios right now. We're talking about possible trade scenarios. Everybody is trying to get up underneath the cap before Wednesday. No, that's when free agency kicks off. So free agency kicks off in 6 days, really. Everybody got to have their money right by then. So there's a lot of guys on the trading block, a lot of guys getting cut, a lot of guys getting new contracts to clear cap space. We just been in here chopping it about that. I talked about the possibility of Dalvin Cook. I talked about the possibility of getting Brandon Cooks. And it's funny, I went Cook back to back. I didn't even really think about that. And now we'll talk about Mike Evans. He said if Raiders don't need Adams. Yeah, and that's up in limbo, right? Because I know it hasn't worked out yet, but there's a possibility they could get somebody like Aaron Rodgers. And Devontae Adams has voiced his opinion. He said he wouldn't mind playing with Aaron Rodgers again. So I think they're going to hold on to those players, those playmakers they got like Waller, Adams, Renfro. I think they're going to hold on to them until they know for sure they can get a competent quarterback. Because if they do get Aaron Rodgers, they'll be able to compete the very same year. Right? They will be able to compete. So I don't think they're going to move either one of those guys until they know for sure who's playing quarterback for them. But yeah, no, Mike Evans is definitely a yes for me. Like I said, big cap hit, 1 year deal, 1 year left on the contract. I mean, but he has a Hall of Fame resume. Basically, sign me up. Because listen, the most they could realistically ask for like a second round pick or a third round pick. If you're willing to give up a second round pick to bring in DeAndre Hopkins, you should be willing to use a second round pick to get any of these good receivers. If you're willing to use a second round pick to get DeAndre Hopkins, you definitely should be willing to use a second round pick for Mike Evans, right? Who is a better physical specimen. Right? They run the same, about the same 40 time, and Mike Evans has like 4 inches on him, and he just was healthy and had 1,000-yard season. I use healthy very loosely, but he was out there on the field. So yeah, that is one I definitely would go for. Now, another one of these players, I wouldn't mind us trading for. And hold on, I'm getting beside myself. I'm talking about all these trades and acquisitions. Dallas Cowboys are not even cleared enough cap space yet to go shopping, right? I'm talking about we should do this, we should do that. Before we go out and trade for anybody, right? Because I really got ahead of myself. Because I'm excited looking at some of these names. I'm excited looking at the prospect of these guys playing on our team. But I also want us to be realistic, and I want us to understand what we have to do to even be in position to do this. Before the cap deadline hits on Wednesday, the Dallas Cowboys need to find a way to clear more cap space. So, if I was a betting man, I would bet that Ryan Dakota Prescott gets a contract extension. And this is basically my main thought process around this. They already said that they want to keep Tyron Smith. They won't cut him. They want to work out restructuring his deal. Right? So even though you're going to save money on that front, you're not going to save a lot of money. You won't save much money at all, because you would have got $10 million for cutting him. And if you restructure him, you'll probably save about $5 million. You probably save like $6 or $5 million, just on average. Same thing with Ezekiel Elliott. They've been very open and upfront that they want to keep him in the fold. So odds are, instead of him getting cut and saving $10 million, he's going to get, a restructure. And, on that restructure, you'll probably save about $5 to $8 million or something like that, right? Maybe 6. You never really know. But point is, you won't be saving $10 million like you were. Right? So that barely gets you over the threshold, right? Even though you'll be in cap compliance, with that move. Matter of fact, let me take a look at something real quick. Because, I'm going off of the numbers before they tagged Tony Pollard. Right? I'm going off the numbers before they tagged Tony Pollard. Let me see what their current cap is looking like right now. Woo! Yeah, I take that back. It's a guarantee that they're gonna have to restructure Dak Prescott. This is a guarantee that they're gonna have to because right now, according to Over the Cap, the Dallas Cowboys are negative $18 million in the hole right now. So they're over the cap by about $18 million according to this website. That means the only way that they'll be able to get into compliance is by extending Dak Prescott. So when they said that, you might wake up and the contract be done, I actually believe him this time. Because if you don't extend Dak Prescott, you're probably cutting everybody and their mama at this point. You already said you was going to do that. I don't see a realistic way that you clear that much cap space without extending Dak Prescott. That's the biggest lump sum right there. It's like a 20, 22, $25 million saving, if I'm not mistaken. You're 18 million over. I know you can only clear so much money from these other guys. I fully expect Jordan Lewis to get cut, but that only saves you $1 million. So cutting Jordan Lewis, he's still $17 million over the cap, right? You restructure Zeke, you might save $5 million, right? So that's $6 million right there. Well, you were 18 in the hole, so you still $12 million over the cap. You restructure Tyron Smith, right? We got it down to 12. You might save 5 on Tyron. You're still $7 million over the cap. So even if you do those three things, you cut Jordan Lewis, you restructure Zeke, and you restructure Tyron, you don't get close to being back in the positive. You still be about $7 or $8 million in the hole. So you definitely are going to have to touch Dak Prescott's money. See, I suck at this cap thing. It's confusing to me. That's why Henny my guy. Hey, I appreciate it, man. And it is complicated, especially when you look at how they're able to put voided years on contracts to extend the cap hit, and and that's why I say it's so many creative ways that you can manipulate the cap in your favor. Like, I'm talking about this right now, but theoretically, Dallas Cowboys can clear about $40 million in cap space by touching some other folks' money. Like, I haven't even talked about restructuring Zach Martin or anything like that. So there are options, but the easiest way of clearing cap space right now for the Dallas Cowboys without giving the front office a headache, just go ahead and touch Dak money. And this is the thing, we already know that they need him. We seen how we performed without him. We were a bottom 20 offense without him. The year before, not the year before, but 2020, we only won a handful of games without him. So it's pretty imperative that they keep Dak Prescott. So even if you have to give Dak Prescott $48 million a year on paper, right, you still save the $20 million. Right, you're just gonna kick the can down the road, and then once it's time for him to get paid big money again in about 2 or 3 years, when the cap when this cap hit is large again, then you just revisit it, and the cap would have went up substantially by the end of that point anyway. Don't we save almost 4 by cutting J. Lou? Well, I don't think it's almost 4. I think it's actually like $1 million we saved by cutting Jordan Lewis. And that's I think we only saved $1 million by cutting Jordan Lewis. But I will double check real quick for you since you asked about it. Let me take a look real quick, brother. Jordan Lewis contract. I hate to say that, because look, it looked like his contract was only $4 million to begin with, and he already played on that. Well, let me see. Okay. So there is a bigger cap saving than I thought for Jordan Lewis. So that is better. If you cut Jordan Lewis, I got the numbers mixed up. See, even players mess up too. All right, so he has a $1 million dead money hit. You actually save $4.7 million if you cut Jordan Lewis after June the 1st. So I definitely would dead Jordan Lewis. I'm sorry, but Jordan Lewis out the door. I can save almost $5 million by cutting a guy who already lost his job. Yeah, his dead money is only one. It's only $1 million. Then the salary, then then the cap savings is like 4.7. So that you are correct, my guy. So I misread that one. So yes, you save $4.7 million if you cut him, after June the 1st. So with that said, let's get a vote. Who do you think deserves to start? Jordan Lewis. Hey, put it in the chat box for me. I like doing these little interactive. I like doing these little interactive shows. So who do you think deserves to start? Put 1 for Jordan Lewis in the chat box, or 2 for DaRon Bland. Right? And if there's more 2s than 1s, then you know that Jordan Lewis need to get cut. So everybody, please, in the chat box, put a 1 for Jordan Lewis if you want him to start. Put a 2 for DaRon Bland if you want him to start. All right, I see 1, 2. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Put the 1s and 2s in the chat box. All right, I see a 2 for Dwayne Brown, 2 from Double R, 2 for Jerome Stank. Yeah, I think everybody, after we saw how he performed, I think everybody thinks he deserves his job. And listen, I like Jordan Lewis. He's made some plays for us. But at the end of the day, I got a guy who was a 5th. And listen, DaRon Bland is a 5th round pick on a 5th round pick rookie deal as a cornerback. He's making next to nothing, and you're getting starting level production from him. Let's just compare the cap hits, right? DaRon Bland, boom, contract. Listen, DaRon Bland is not even going to make $1 million next year. He's going to make $946,000 next year, compared to Jordan Lewis, who's supposed to make. Let me see. Jordan Lewis supposed to make like 5 almost. So yeah, no. It's an easy decision. When somebody younger and cheaper comes and they immediately give better production than you have, and really ever has, because Jordan Lewis has never gotten 5 interceptions in a season. So I can understand why he's lost his job. Nothing against him. Yeah, like Bland played like Kelvin Joseph was supposed to. I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. And I really lied. I told you I was gonna put my my cash app at the top to start the show. I started running my mouth. I never did it. So for everybody else that wants to donate, Hennythemoor at Cash App is at the top in the chat box. You can also sign Pat Peterson with J. Lou money. Yeah, that is a very good point. So now with the new figures, let's go back and see if they still have to extend Dak Prescott in order just to make the cut. Right. So you're $18 million in the hole. You cut Jordan Lewis, you save $4 million. So you're $14 million in the hole still. Let's say on a Zeke restructure, you save $6 million. On a Tyron restructure, you save $6 million. You're still about $2 million in the hole. So cutting J. Lou, restructuring Zeke, restructuring Tyron, it still does not quite get you there unless they're taking massive haircuts. It does not get you there. Hey, I appreciate it, Jerome Saint. I appreciate that. But yeah. So yeah, you got to go ahead with this Dak Prescott extension. If that's what you're trying to, listen, you want to be competitive, go ahead and do it. You know he's a top 10 quarterback. You know you're getting top 10 production from him when he's healthy. Generally, he is healthy, right? Despite the broken thumb, he should be back in rare form. And and Dwayne Brown, you did mention it. Zach Martin is a possibility as well for a restructure. You could possibly restructure Zach Martin as well. But it still does not clear that much space. You're going from, let's say it's around the same, it's about a $6 million saving. Let's say between let's say between the three restructures, you save about $18 million, about $6 million a piece from them, and then you saved $4 million from cutting J. Lou. That's only about 20.7 million dollars or $21 million or so. So you're only in the green about $3 million in the cap. Man, you can cut Gallimore, but they already said they want Gallimore, and that's my issue. Like Gallimore he has not been productive the last season or so, but they're still down to keep him. So and you already know that we all feel that we need an improvement and an upgraded defensive tackle spot. So I would cut the dude instantly. But Dallas Cowboys, they like their guys. That's their mantra. They're gonna keep them around as long as they can keep them. Not the wise thing to do, but it is what it is. Jerry spends that just to fuel the yacht for his weekend. He can wiggle $2 million from some loophole in the cap. I would hope so. That was good. Ownership does. But yeah, they definitely need to find a way to get under the cap faster. But we're up here talking about this and that. We just cleared about $21 million in cap space, and we haven't even touched Dak Prescott's money. So if you do that as well, right? If you go ahead and you extend Dak Prescott, boom. We had got us to like $2 million in the green, $3 million in the green. You extend Dak Prescott, you get about $22 to $25 million in cap space. We'll say 22 on the low end. So we just got the Dallas Cowboys $25 million over the cap with those moves. And all we did, we cut Jordan Lewis. We restructured Ezekiel Elliott. We restructured Tyron Smith. We restructured Zach Martin, and we extended Dak Prescott. So how many moves with that? Dak Prescott extension, cut Jordan Lewis, restructure Zeke, restructure Tyron, restructure Zach. So that's just 5 moves. In 5 moves, we got the Dallas Cowboys $25 million in the positive, right? On the rough end, on the low end. So, it's possible to do, but you see how integral Dak Prescott's extension is in that, because that's like you have $3 million in cap space doing all those other ones just about, and then you jump to having damn near $30 million in cap space with the Dak Prescott extension. So yeah, this is how integral that is to get that done. He says Jerome Saint said he's talented, but he sucked. Yeah, he has talent, but his talent is more in pushing the pocket. Like he's not a true, no matter how heavy he gets, he's not a true one tech or anything like that. He's not a true run stopper. Like this, his strength is pushing the pocket. He can pass rush. That's what he does. Henny, if all that happened, I'm giving Jerry your cash app. Hey man, go ahead and give it to him. Because listen, it's not even crazy, right? Like when you look at the cap, it's always about who money can you touch, right? When you're trying to get below the cap, it's not really about anything else but who money can you touch, right? We can't mention Michael Gallup because you really don't save money by cutting him this year. Like the out in his contract, the way it's built, it's not till next year. So you don't save anything by touching Michael Gallup's money right now. You damn sure not going to cut CeeDee Lamb because he's been productive, right? Ferguson and Hendershot, they're rookies, so you wouldn't touch their contract. You can't extend them right now, and they're already playing for dirt cheap. You already gave Tony Pollard the franchise tag, so unless you're going to rework his contract, go back to the table and give him a long-term deal, you're already in the hole for that $10 million right there, right? And then you go everywhere else, you just look for where you can find money on the 53-man roster. And those are the only locations you can really find money. Now, there's other things you could do. Like there's a possibility you could cut Boss Man fat if you want him. But the Dallas Cowboys, they left him on the team, after the shooting incident. So, I doubt they double back now, right? After they let him play through that, I doubt that they double back now and cut him this offseason. If they didn't cut him last offseason, I don't see it happening right now. Right. So, and they like him on special teams. As stupid as that is, like he does make plays on special teams, and they like that about him. So D-Law money paying for him because of restructures. Yeah, eventually, you will have to pay the piper. But for a team that is actively trying to compete for a Super Bowl, like things like that, you worry about it when you cross that bridge, right? So like people's money comes up 2-3 years down the line. That just means you got 2 or 3 years to put a good team together and compete. So like I don't mind the Dallas Cowboys doing that, especially with the way that they draft. Like I think we're the kind of team that is built to rebuild a roster fairly quickly. Like the Eagles did it in 5 years. The Dallas Cowboys probably could do it in 3. Right? They had a Super Bowl roster, lost it, and they got back to the Super Bowl in 5 years. The Dallas Cowboys went all in. Right, the Dallas Cowboys went all in. Didn't have to blow it up. I think with the way that they draft and that they could be back within a couple of years, back competitive. So I don't think they'll be bad. Even in the year they have to rebuild, I don't think they would actually be bad. We back. What's good, famo? Hey, what's up, Swain? I see you tapping in with me, man. I see you. Eli, I see you, man. Yeah, man, it does look like Dalton Schultz is on his way out. Yeah, so they only say $600K by cutting KJ. So yeah, I don't think they would go out their way to do that anyway. Like they're too far gone in their situation. They're way too far gone in that situation for that to even happen. Oh, I see what you're talking about. So Dalton Schultz turned down an offer from the Dallas Cowboys. Michael Lockhart, what's up with you, man? All right, so this is something I didn't hear about till now. I appreciate y'all for tapping in and telling me about this. So let me take a look, see if I can find any additional information on Dalton Schultz turning down a contract with the Dallas Cowboys. Check me out. Draft left guard, move Tyler left tackle, draft DB, LB, DT, or defensive end. Okay, I could definitely see that working. I think the Dallas Cowboys are pretty sold on keeping Tyron Smith here, so we'll see. But let me see if I can find anything on the Dalton Schultz situation. I seen the report on Law's stuff. Hey, can anybody put the contract details inside of the chat box for Dalton Schultz of what he was supposedly offered? What's up with you, Darren? I see you, man. Yeah, if anybody has the details on the contract he was supposedly offered and turned down, just put it in the chat box. We'll talk about it. Just did 4-round mock draft. But yeah, I definitely want to see if there's any merit to this. Let's see. I'm trying to find something better than your headless kitty, Swain. Y'all be in the chat wilding. Swear to God, y'all do. See, I can't find anything on it outside of Law's report. For what you got going on in the title, all I'm gonna say is that would be 1995, sir. Yes, that mug be coming in clutch. I done talked about 40 things on this show, boy. Yeah, and much more be hidden different. Yeah, I just saw it on Law Nations. He said SI got an article. Sports Illustrated. Okay. Let me type his stuff in. But yeah, landlord, did you hear anything about that? About Dalton Schultz getting offered a contract by the Cowboys and he turned it down? I says, okay, I see one from Cowboys, maybe. We already know that a key Dallas Cowboys is unlikely to return. Or why he doesn't? Okay. So let's see. Schultz is 26. It said so much to the chance. Yeah, I see it now. They said according to Sports Illustrated, Schultz was already turned down a pretty solid multi-year offer by the Dallas Cowboys. So look, it is what it is. We all expected this though. Like hey landlord, we were talking about it on the show. The Dallas Cowboys do not value the tight end position like that anymore. They've been getting too much production from these low end draft picks. But think about it. He said Mike Fisher no number. Marcus says he's about 4 years, 60 million. Yeah, 4 years, 60 million. I mean, I think that was pretty good money, Dalton Schultz. Well, that's about $15 million a year, ain't it? Yeah, that's $15 million a year. Listen, if Dalton Schultz turned down $15 million a year, then he damn sure got to walk. Ain't no way. And we are victims of our own success. But I am going to say this. If they offered him 4 years, $60 million a year, which is $15 million a year, right? Then like he can get the hell on. He can get the hell on. And I want Dalton Schultz. I like Dalton Schultz. But if he turned down a $15 million a year offer by the Dallas Cowboys, I cannot sit here and say and cry about it, because that is a very, very healthy offer. It's a very healthy offer. And listen, I was the same dude that sat here, and I rolled with him because of his production. Like I've been telling y'all, like he's been top 5 in this last 2 years, top 5 in that last 2 years, right? So, I'm one of the main guys that been politicking to try and keep him here. So if he actually turned down a 4 year, $60 million a year deal in a state that has no income, listen, I live in Texas. The state of Texas does not take taxes up here. My paychecks looks good. So with that said, if he turned down $60 million in a state that don't even have state taxes, he's tripping. He's tripping. So, it is what it is. But at this point, if we offered him, he turned it down, there ain't nothing we can do. He can't put a gun to his head and make him sign. So we'll just have to find, another alternative at the tight end position. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, that's exactly what my boy be hitting. Well, shit, we can't give him $17, $18 million. $17, $18 million, we can go get a good wide receiver, right? Like there are some high quality wide receivers you can get for that much money. For real, like if we're gonna pay Dalton Schultz $18 million a year, you were better off keeping Amari Cooper for $20 million a year. Let him walk. Dak made him anyway. We got rookies. Well, if he turned it down, that's on him. You know what I'm saying? That's all I can say. I know I hate that. I hate that. And look, he said we can snag 2 or 3 free agent pickups. Speaking of which, this is totally different. Yeah, it's like the money you can pay to D Hopkins for $18 million a year. So yeah. So if it's true, right? Because I haven't seen anything, circulating yet myself. But if it's true, that was the money in the years he turned down. It's whatever. But to segue just slightly, Dallas Cowboys, and this is draft related actually. The Dallas Cowboys got 3 comp picks today. Not high cup picks at all, right? We got two additional 5th round picks, and we got a 6th round pick, right? So altogether, the Dallas Cowboys now have 9 total draft picks. Dallas Cowboys now have 9 total draft picks in the 2023 season. So, with that, ton of good tight ends we can draft, free agents we can draft or add for cheap. Yeah. Listen, I would have preferred to have kept them. But it is what it is at this point. But yeah, like I was saying though, we added 3 comp picks, so we got 2 additional 5th round picks, and we added a 6th round pick as well. Don't give me the line about how the comp signs work. I don't think some of the GMs know. They say Dalton Schultz will offer $60.6 million. So as of today, these are the draft picks that the Dallas Cowboys have now. Because of those comp picks. We have a 1st round pick, a 2nd round pick, a 3rd round pick, a 4th round pick. We have 3 5th round picks, a 6th round pick, and a 7th round pick. And I know it doesn't sound glamorous with those fills, but I tell you what it does give you. Yeah, you can eat, and listen, you can either use them to move up, or you can use them in a trade package to get like DeAndre Hopkins. Remember, because they said they wanted a 2nd and a late round pick for DeAndre Hopkins. Well, now you got 3 fifths. You can sweeten the deal. You can give them 2 of your 5th round picks if you want to. Just in case you had to outbid somebody, you can give them 2 fifths. You give them the 2nd round pick and 2 fifths, get DeAndre Hopkins. And you still have a 5th round pick to draft. And listen, I would want us to at least keep 1 5th round pick just because we've been getting lucky on them. Because we got Damone Clark in the 5th round. We got the Run Bland in the 5th round. So, I'll do that. We are not, and it hurt my heart with Ridgeway, man. I'm a Razorback. I already know what kind of player Ridgeway is, and they just let him hit the dough. What's worse about it is the boy, was a good run stopper, and we are a bad run stopping team. So we let a guy who perfectly filled our area of need just walk out the door for nothing. So nah, I definitely didn't agree with that at all. Right. And listen, if you were willing to give Dalton Schultz $15 million a year, you could turn around and just give that contract to Dunno, right? Yeah, I see my boy Eastside Harold in here talking crazy, man. I see him in here. And I know he probably got a soft spot about that boy D Hopkins. No, probably sad to see that boy go. That's why we need to use them picks to move up. Yeah, using to move up, or use them to trade for an actual player. Like I say, using a couple of those 5th round picks and a 2nd for DeAndre Hopkins makes sense. That's what they want. Give it to them. All right, same thing. Move up and get a better player, or package them in a trade and get a veteran player. Like, I'm with all that. Because odds of us, like you said, odds of these guys actually even making the team is going to be hard. At least for the offensive players. Like, I think what's crazy is I think most of the defensive players we draft late usually pan out. Israel panned out so far, right? Damone Clark has panned out so far. Um, the run blend has damn sure panned out. So I think it's really just the offensive players we take that have a bigger issue of folding. Chris Johnson, hey, you're never too late, man. And no such thing as being late. Oh, he said Jerry Jeudy. Yeah, that's still something I would like, especially because of his age, man. And like Jerry Jeudy is a little bit faster than I thought he was. Like Jerry Jeudy actually did run a 4.4 at his combine. He ran like a 4.47 or 4.45, something like that. But Jerry Jeudy has decent speed along with good route running ability. So he's definitely in that Amari Cooper range when it comes to like explosiveness, route running, hands. So I don't think we've been talking about that enough. Landlord, hey, speaking of that, that's your boy. Are we ever gonna do that film study on Jerry Jeudy? Are we ever gonna do that film study on Jerry Jeudy, or that a pipe dream? Because hell, I'm sure we have time to do multiple shows Saturday. I'm sure me and you do about 2 or 3 shows Saturday, man. Like one of them could be over Jerry Jeudy. I have some Jerry Jeudy film. I'm still interested in looking at him. Cause I know we're supposed to be getting together. I mean, hey, listen, in your defense though, like I think Jerry Jeudy would have been an all-pro with Dak Prescott. Like he ain't had a quarterback. He said, "Let's get it." Trap turn block party. You going to give me notified time? You going live? Oh yeah, hell yeah, yeah. Next time we go live, I'm definitely gonna give y'all a warning. So like, if y'all be wanting to keep up, like go to my Twitter, follow me on Twitter, and I'll be posting a couple minutes or so before we go live. Same thing with Landlord. You rock with Landlord, follow his content, go to his Twitter sometimes. He'll post before we go on this. And hell, he got the same Twitter handle as he does on YouTube. So you just go to Landlord from Alabama on Twitter and click that. And he'll give you notifications. Same way with me. Go to HTM Sports, on Twitter. You'll get notifications before I go live on the show. NLZ said, "Hook 'em horns." I feel you. Odell might be fool's gold. Not sure how good he is anymore. He's trying to prove something. Like Odell Beckham was supposed to be holding like a workout or something. I was looking for the details to the Dalton Schultz contract, and then I ran across that Odell Beckham was supposed to be having a workout. For some NFL teams. He said he was balling his last game. The only thing about that is he the last game he played is going on 2 years. It was not even last year's Super Bowl. It was the Super Bowl before that. So it's been a second since I seen Odell Beckham play. So that's the only hesitancy. But I always big up the medical staff here, the training staff here. So if he's not expensive, then like I don't mind bringing him in. Even after we do something like trade for DeAndre Hopkins or something, like I still bring him in. I still bring him in. Coach Smart said we might be using Odell to get the hot price down. Shoot, his price ain't that high. Like listen, it's gonna come a point in time where you can't be that damn cheap. Because you don't listen, we ain't hit on a second round pick but once in like the last 5 years, and that's Trayvon Diggs, right? And they only want a second. They only want like a second and a fourth or a second and a fifth. Like, how much cheaper can you get? Are the Dallas Cowboys really gonna miss out on getting DeAndre Hopkins? Because they want to give them a third instead of a second, or something stupid like that. Like, you can't just keep being a penny pincher in every damn scenario. Listen, you got to spend to get in. You got to spend to win. So, like nickel and diamond, a team that's trying to basically give away what still is a top 15 wide receiver. Because I don't think there's 15 wide receivers better than DeAndre Hopkins right now. Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins already said he'd be willing to lower the last couple of years on his cap hit anyway, right? He said he would work with he said his words were he would, work with a team on those final 2 years of his contract, for the right situation. Gotta pay to play, yes. And he's supposed to be about his money, man. He's supposed to be about his money. Like, this is a business. Like, these players are their own entity. They're all private contractors, right? Especially after they get off their rookie deal. That's why they're unionized. 7 years ago, Odell was top 3 to 5. Yeah, he was definitely a monster. He was a monster when he was healthy. JJ out here hitting on OBJ, mama, LOL. Oh yeah, like you make a play against the Cowboys. The whole playing for. I don't think he is. I don't think he's playing Dallas for some fools, because he really has a good relationship with Dez Bryant. Especially like players that play the same position. There's like a fraternity between them. Like Eastside just swear up and down like, oh, we're getting set up for the finesse. And listen, it's not even a guarantee that we get him, but I do think he wants to play for Dallas. I mean, there's no better franchise to play for. I know Eastside trolling, man. That's what he here for. That is what he here for. But yeah, look, we've been rocking for about an hour 16, going on hour 17. I appreciate y'all for tapping in and rocking with me for so long. I thank y'all for your time. I'm gonna go. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Like, I'll be back. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm finna take my blast to sleep. So I appreciate y'all for everything. On the way out, please hit that like button, that share button, the subscribe button if you already have not subscribed to the channel. If you want to donate, remember, me, West Coast Cowboy, and Landlord for Alabama will be making our way to the draft in April. We will be going to the NFL draft to represent for the Dallas Cowboys and the nation. We'll be there on behalf of y'all, our supporters, but we'll need your help to do so. So please, hit the Cash App. It's right there in the chat. It's Hennythemoor. It's $ Hennythemoor. So please hit the Cash App. Support our efforts to get to the NFL draft in April. And I appreciate y'all for the support and love. God bless, and I will see y'all tomorrow.